Good? Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'll be all right. I'll be all right. Uh, oh man. So I know that last week we concluded the book of Romans, and I know some of you probably was like, "Yay! Finally closed out on the book of Romans." And so I asked you for some feedback, and one of the things that actually came out was was this study, but it was given in two parts, so I just combined them. Somebody talked about the works of the flesh. Well, somebody wanted to know the fruit of the spirit, and then Sister Betty let me know you can't do the fruit of the spirit without doing the works of the flesh. So I knew that already. So I said, all right. So we're gonna try and look at those first and foremost, and then hopefully you will have a better understanding of, or let me not say better understanding only, but that all of the questions that you have would be answered, because we're gonna teach each other. Is that all right? Yeah, we're gonna teach each other. Okay. So Paul is writing to these Galatians, right? And Paul is encouraging these Christians in the Galatian territory to watch the way that they walk, watch the way that they live, not to follow after different gospels or false doctrine, but to really follow after God. And here in this chapter, he's actually trying to show them that the best way for every Christian to walk is basically under the guidance of the Spirit. And so he's actually now contrasting some things, with the works of the flesh and the fruit of the Spirit. And so two opposing way of life. We see that, right? We know that. Two opposing way of life. Who governs the flesh? Who governs the flesh? So man governs the flesh. Okay. Okay, the devil, and who governs the spiritual side? God does, right? So the devil, he is controlling the flesh. He is the ruler of this world. The flesh is actually subjected to the world. You are born of the world, and therefore you're under the influence of the world. Do not forget, this is what salvation is all about, bringing people from a way of life of the world to now the way that God wants you to live, apart and separate from the world. And we use a word all the time for this, because you are the called out, the sanctified ones, right? You're the called out ones, the ecclesia, called out. You're the sanctified ones. So God called us out, and he actually expects you to live in a way that is contrary to what the flesh is accustomed to. Live contrary to what you're. How many of you in here were born rich? Okay, so nobody. So if you were born rich now and somebody say, okay, now you're going to have to live poor, live like a poor person. That's a contrasting lifestyle, right? You're going to be like, what? I'm accustomed of having my own this and doing this and people who serve me, and now I got to go and live a life where I'm doing for myself. No, it's kind of different. So God is asking us, you need to come over here, and this is how you need to live. All right? So what we're going to do is I'm going to just try to contrast these in a way that is easy for us to understand. You may not get everything tonight, and I know I'm not going to finish the class tonight, so I'm not trying to. I want us to make sure that we understand this stuff. All right? So we're going to read the verses first, as usual, and then we're going to try and break them down. Verse 19 through 23. So who wants to read?
Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: fornication, uncleanliness, lasciviousness, idolatry, sorcery, enmities, strife, jealous, wrath, factions, division, parties, envyings, drunkenness, reveling, and such like, of which I forewarn you, even as I did forewarn you, that they who practice such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, meekness, self-control. Against such there is no law.
All right. All right. So God says, against such there is no law. Now, we're going to look at something. Now, he said, go back to 19. And I don't want you to miss them. Don't want you to miss them. So, what did he say? Now, the what? Now, do you notice that works is a plural? You notice that, right? So, the works of the flesh, plural, right? And now, these are all those type of behaviors and the attitudes that we have that really arise from a life that is lived outside of God's covenant. So God's covenant means the rules and commandments that govern us. So when you live a life that is outside of God's covenant, you're living a life outside of his commandments, then this is what you would actually do. These are the things you do. This is not an all-encompassing list. Paul is not saying that these are the only things. He said, and such like, meaning that other things actually complete the list, but he did not list them. And we know that James tells us if you know to do good and you don't do it, it's sin, right? Some things are ingrained in you. God made each and every one of us with a conscience. And sometimes your conscience tells you that something is wrong. And you can actually say, well, you know what? Yeah, if you were to walk out here right now and you see somebody beating up somebody, you would probably be like, hey, that's not right. That's because something inside you tells you that. That's not right for you to do that, right? You don't need a rule to say somebody don't need to beat up somebody. But you know it's not. Right? Okay. So he said the works of the flesh. The works of the flesh. And we talk about the flesh meaning you. It means you. Your desires. Your desires. Anybody in here have desires? You have yeah, all of us do. We are governed by desires. But look at what he's actually doing. He's telling us about the desires of the sinful nature. Is that the nature that we're supposed to put to death? Yeah, it is, right? So let's look at them a little bit. Now, all of these, if you actually pay attention to them, you're going to see they're all self-centered. They're all self-centered because they are you, right? They're you. And you're the one doing that. So let's look at them. They're divided into 4 different categories. Okay? So the sins that he actually gives here, from verse 19 to verse 21, they're broken down. You can actually separate them into 4 different categories. The first ones he gives, they're sexual sins. And we're going to look at those. So in the sexual sins there, he tells you about them like, they're up there again, sexual immorality and the impurity and the lustful pleasures. Mm-hmm. So he tells you those, right? He gives them to you. And we, like I said, we look at them. And, whew, boy, I tell you, please forgive me. The next set of sins, the next category, he gives 2 of them that are actually religious sins. If you put the next verse, we're just going to break them down, like I said, and we're going to look at them. Idolatry and sorcery. Those are religious sins. So he gives you some sexual sins first, then he gives you some religious sins. The next couple of sins that he actually lists out, they're all relational sins, meaning how you deal with each other, right? How you deal with each other, how you deal with your surroundings, right? He said like the hatred, you see them in there, or the hostility, the quarreling or the discord, jealousy, the outbursts or your fits of rage that you have, selfish ambition, dissension and division. And he even go down to the next one. And he said envies, right? Envies. All those are all religious sins. I mean, not religious sins, but relational sins. All right? And then the next category that he gives are the social sins. These are the social sins. The drunkenness, the wild parties, and other sins like these. These are those social stuff. So let's go back. Let's look at these now. Let's look at them. So he talked about the sexual sins. Where does so God made man and woman in the garden, and did God made man and woman for relations, sexual relations? He did, right? And so he says that they were made for sexual relations, and the purpose of their sexual relation was to multiply and replenish the earth, right? Notice what God did not tell them. God did not just tell them, like, you know what, hey, it's for any other purpose other than that. You're going to get it later. It's going to come to you. So the purpose of that sin, of that relationship, was for multiplication or for procreation, right? But before God actually told them to engage in it, he made sure that he put them in a union. So the Bible lets us know that Adam and Eve were husband and wife before that command to procreate was actually given. What I'm trying to show you is that God expected the sexual desires to be satisfied in a marriage relationship, a marital relationship, not a unmarried relationship, but a married relationship, a union. That's where he expected it to happen. So if you look at what he's actually telling you here, look at what the sins are now. He tells you these sexual sins. It starts with what? Adultery. You see that? Adultery. So that is actually going outside of the union of marriage and doing that. Now, adultery does not only involve the said act. So who wants to refer us to where does adultery begin? Do you have a scripture for that? Go ahead. So remember, and you can find it, I'm going to tell you, you can find that in Jesus' discourse on the Mount, Sermon on the Mount. So you could just go ahead. So go ahead. That's for y'all's research, y'all reference. Who's doing that? Jesus says, you have heard that it's been said by those of, do not commit adultery. But I say to you that a man who, so y'all got it? There you go. Oh, she's saying upstairs that y'all need the mic. So who's got it? Who's got the reference? Like I said, we're all teaching each other tonight. We go. You got the reference? Give her the mic. Who's got it? Who's got the mic? Go ahead, Sister Mary. Right there. Go ahead. You've been heard what has been said.
I'm reading from Matthew 5:27.
There you go.
You have heard the commandment that says you must not commit adultery.
There you go.
But I say, anyone who even looks at a woman with lust has already committed adultery with her in his heart.
All right. So now you don't need to lay up with the person that's not yours in order to commit adultery. You know, you could just look over there and, man, it's not just a compliment. Now, you're looking not to give a compliment, but you're looking with lust. You're looking with a desire to have. And Jesus says, if you're looking with that desire to have, now that is sinful. So where does it come from again? It comes from, we talk about it, the heart. So if you have not yet cut off the old way of thinking as you venture into Christianity, as you come into this contract with God where you says, I submit myself to you. I'm going to give my heart to you and allow the Holy Spirit to indwell me, then you're still being controlled by these old thoughts. And Jesus is telling you probably need to check yourself. Because if the old thoughts are then causing you to think beyond seeing that person, and now you're thinking, you see the person and now you're thinking about the person undressed or naked or whatever, and what you and the person could be doing, Jesus said that that's sinful. You see that? It's sinful. But some of us, we may want to live and deceive ourselves into saying or thinking, well, you know what? I mean, it's just a thought. Actions begin with thoughts. Our thoughts are the genesis, the birth of our actions, you know? And so we got to be careful. We got to be careful. So sexual immorality, that's a term that we actually see there. And that involves, it involves adultery, it involves fornication, and the likes, right? So we're going to look at some more. Let's go back again now. So we see that, what Jesus says. Lust. So let me ask a question. So I'm not asking anybody to confess anything here. I'm just going to ask this. How hard is it for you as a Christian? I mean, if you want to answer it, I'm just saying. How hard do you, let me not just make it a pointed question at you then. So how hard do you think it would be then for a Christian to get rid of that type of adulterous way of thinking? How hard do you think it would be? It could be very hard. Go ahead. Oh, she needs the mic.
Sometimes it's very hard because sometimes you could make up, and I'm saying for me, and we all grown in here, so I'm not confessing. Mm-hmm. But sometimes you can make up a person in your mind of what you figured they would look like. Mm-hmm. If you are having those desires. Mm-hmm. And not saying what you have isn't good enough. but I used to catch myself in that desire. It's like, I know he's tall, but he can have more muscles. Or something that I'm picturing, then there goes the desire, and there goes the thought, and then there goes the lust.
Trust me, it's not just a female thing. So, and I hope that Chris is he is much stronger than that. You know, a lot of times you would ask men their ideal woman, and they would say, "Oh boy, I love Halle Berry," right? But they marry. You can ask a married woman or a single woman who she likes, and oh boy, that Denzel, right? So, see, like the old you, not the new you. That's what I'm saying, right? So there it is, that you can actually think about all these things and fantasize about all these things, but again, be careful, because all these fantasy and this fantasizing, right, can actually lead you down the wrong road. Because if left unchecked, eventually somebody is probably going to want to try something. All right? So you hear about people stalking people? Okay, all right. So yeah. So he says sexual immorality, right? Adultery. Notice something else that he says in verse 19, because we talk about those. So he talks about the sexual immorality, the adultery, the fornication and stuff, right? Look at what he says, impurity. What do you think he's talking about when he says impurity? Oh, check yourself.
Somebody's sick-minded.
There you go. So impure thoughts. Again, boy, all the things that you could, fantasy land. See that? The fantasy land, the impure thoughts. And again, all of this is of that sexual nature. Don't forget, these are those sexual. Look at this. Something else he says there is like lustful pleasures Another word you can actually use is like debauchery, right? So, and do not forget, this is actually engaging in the excesses, right? You're going to the excess because you can't just do this. You have to do all of this. And I'm gonna see if anybody ever heard this word before. I know we hear it a lot in the islands because it's always associated with parties, right? Anybody ever heard of the word bacchanal? Okay. Somebody look it up real quick and see what it says. Bachanal. Sometimes it's spelled with two N's, one N, depending if you're British, American, whatever it is. But Bachanal. So so after their god Bacchus, and so it's actually that excessive indulgence in. Go ahead.
A bacchanal is a frenzied, drunken, or riotous celebration or party characterized by uninhibited hedonistic revelry, rooted in ancient Roman festivals honoring Bacchus, the god of wine. These events often featured wild music and sexual experimentation. Modern interpretations include large-scale buffets, casual bars, or chaotic, scandalous, or confusing events.
All right. So now you see something, right? Oh, boy. We going over here, and the party is going to be wild, right? How many times you hear that? The party, man, I tell you, it's just wild. You ain't got to go far. You ain't even got to go. Just read about P. Diddy, right? I'm just saying. So when you see, so these were all like those type of parties. Uninhibited. Nobody's going to stop you. You come here, you do what you want to do. That's what they did like in the 70s, all with Woodstock and stuff like that, right? You ain't got to tell me if you were in Woodstock, but that's fine. All that's behind you now. Looking unto Jesus now, the author and finisher of our faith. Leave all that stuff behind now, right? But, people were like, do a little drugs. It ain't gonna bother you. We're going to get drunk. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And then, guess what? A lot of times, the things that happen, sometimes the things that you live to regret. You could have been the product of one of these type of parties. You see what I'm saying? I could have been the product of one of these type of parties. Something unplanned, but because I was so drunk and out of my mind, I was so high and out of my mind, things happened that I would have normally not approved of. And so he's telling you, the lustful pleasures, because everybody just want to, just go for what, go for what you know. Just let loose. But letting loose, again, is just showing that you are unbridled. You're unbridled. You don't have any restraint on yourself. And the devil likes it that way, when you don't have any restraint. But the thing about it is, we talk about being in a covenant relationship with God. Now, when you're in a covenant relationship with God, there are commandments that guide you. The commandments that actually set the limits. It tells you how far you're allowed to go to the right, how far you're allowed to go to the left. God says you have to walk this way. You have to do this according to how I prescribe it. When you're living according to the flesh, there is no governance actually telling you how to do it. So you say, it's my life, and I'm going to live it how I want to. I'm going to go where I want to, when I want to, for however long I want to, and I'm going to do whatever I want to do with who I want to, how I want to. And you can't tell me what to do. The sad thing about all of this is that there are people in the church today who still think that that is okay. It's okay to live that way, that you can't tell me what to do. So there are people who are engaging in adultery. There are people in the church who are also indulging in fornication. And the Bible talks about fornication and lets us know that that is actually the sex outside of the marriage, right? So we still think that it is okay for me to act like a married person, just as long as maybe I don't bring that person around you. So I could have my side hustle. Is that what you call it? Side piece? Side hustle? Well, see, I'm just saying, everybody know the language. Thank God I'm trying to walk by faith and not by. But I'm just saying, right? So you have the side piece over here, and you said, well, guess what? My lustful pleasures are actually being satisfied. I just don't have to let anybody know. We're still living under the control of the flesh. We haven't yet given up if these are the type of things. Anybody got any comments? Come on now. These are things y'all wanted. Y'all should have a whole lot. Go ahead.
I think about, like you said here, particularly about the lack of judgment, and they like to use the whole only God can judge me and stuff, and the verse about judge and be not you judge. But a lot of times in the scripture, we're literally told to judge people off their character and how to do. Like, even for your job, like, they're judged based off not your work, but your character and stuff.
Right.
If they was to go off that and say, oh, I just go how I want to be, do what I want to do, I mean, that gets you fired, to get your pink slip and stuff. So even though not really supposed to judge like condemnation and stuff, but at the same time, you got to have that spirit of discernment to understand, like for example, like if I'm doing wrong and stuff and my parents don't want to hurt my feelings, but I appreciate it more if they say, hey, you're doing wrong, let's guide you in this right direction where you're coming from, versus just to put them down and stuff. But you have to have that spirit of discernment to understand, like, I can't be associating with this because you're supposed to be different and stuff. So yeah, I really hate it when people use stuff like to justify poor behavior versus like what it really was intended to do.
Right. Now I'm gonna, what I want to do is I'm going to try to take it a little further. I'm going to try and take it up a notch. Is that all right? Okay. So here are some things that we need to understand. So John tells us in 1 John chapter 2, he says to do what? Love not the world. First John 2, what is it, 16, 17, around there? It says, love not the world, neither the things that are in the world, right? So somebody go there real quick. 1 John chapter 2. 1 John 2, look at start around verse 16. 1 John chapter 2.
For all that is in the world.
That's 16?
16.
Start at 15. Start at 15.
Love not the world.
Uh-huh.
Neither the things that are in the world.
Mm-hmm.
If any man love the world, and the love of the Father is not in him.
Uh-huh.
For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh,
Uh-huh.
the lust of the eyes,
Uh-huh.
and the pride of life is not of the Father, but of the world.
All right. I like I'm not sure if you're using the American Standard Version or whatever it is, that version that's up there. But see that up there? I like that how he says. The world only offers you what? Craving for physical pleasure. The sexual sins that we saw, were they physical pleasure? So if we are craving, look at what he says now. This is what he said, don't love the world nor the things of the world, right? Because all that's in the world, he said, if you love the world, then the love of the Father is not in you. And now he's telling us what are the things that actually consist love of the world. The love of the love for physical pleasure, or the craving for physical pleasure. So if you're craving that, then it's saying that you don't really have the love of the Father in you. So if you are actually, like, back again to like Galatians 5, you can leave that right there for a little bit, but in Galatians 5, where it's actually telling you about the sexual sins here, that if you are engaging in these sexual sins, John says the love of the Father is not in you. You could just tie the scriptures together, just put them side by side. If I'm actually having this type of craving, then the love of the Father is not in me. If I'm craving everything that I see, anybody in here deal with children? Children always want something. You just go outside, can I get one of that? I want one of that, I want one of that. Everything that they see, they want. But what about when you start living that life? Everything that you see, you want. I see a girl, I got to have that girl. You see how it works? Everything you see, you want. You see, all that type of stuff, right? No. Mm-mm. You say, and the personal achievements that we want. So he says that selfish living, because that's all it is, a craving for everything. Where does the craving develop? It develops inside the heart. So when you have a heart that craves everything, when you have a heart that's actually trying to always be gratified, when you have a heart that's actually nothing is ever enough, it's actually telling you that you're living a life that's devoid of God. You're living in the world, living under the influence of the flesh. So John tells us that is not something that we need to be doing. Now, the Bible also lets us know, because I like that. So all that's in the world is it said the lust of the flesh. The lust of the flesh. Do you think that the sin only begins with the person who lusts? Or it only, let me not say begins. Do you think that the sin only lies with the person who lusts? All right. So I'm just going to tell you, and then again, y'all could go ahead and search, right? Jesus says, offenses are going to come. But woe to the one by whom the offense comes, right? Okay, so y'all going to research that? Make sure that I'm telling you the truth? That's what you got to do, right? I'm just saying, you're going to search the scriptures, right? So, offenses are going to come. Look at it this way now. There are going to be times in my life that I'm going to lust. But woe to the one who really causes me to lust now. Now I'm going to say this because a lot of times we may think like, it's only with the blah, blah, blah. If you, look, everybody who gets up and gets dressed, you know the intent behind you wearing certain clothing. It's cold outside. I know ain't nobody who came out here in shorts tonight. We look for the appropriate clothing. And you say, like, I want to wear something warm. I want to wear some jacket or something like this, whatever, right? And I'm telling you, there are some things that I hate because back in my sinful days, I was just waiting for somebody to comment and say something. Right, I'm just saying. Like, I remember back in the days, when I used to, like visit the club, stuff like that, right? You knew a lot of the women who were going to the club, they were always going to see who they can hook up with. And a lot of the guys were going to see who they can hook up with. It's just like she was saying, they have in their mind who they want to hook up with. So you don't present yourself in such a way that she wants to hook up with you because you don't fit the criteria. But she knew before she left the house that she was going to put on some clothes that was actually going to be revealing. She looked in the mirror before she left, not showing enough cleavage. So I need to finagle this stuff around so it actually shows, Maybe I need to put on a girdle that I look more presentable. I need to. You understand what I'm saying, right? And she does all of this because she's trying to attract the person that's in her mind. But now here comes somebody. He didn't go there to say like he want to meet her or nothing, right? But now he sees her. And now he is like this fly. That I got to buzz around. And she's like, shoo, fly, don't bother me. But he buzzing back around again because he's attracted to what he sees, right? And I'm talking in language like this because this is what you may be accustomed to. But I'm saying she knew. She had every intention of attracting someone, just not that one. I'm saying it happens in the church too. You see, we may laugh about that, but it happens in the church too. And that sometimes you have some people who are, I'm going to church, but I'm going to, I want to do all of this, and I want to do all of this, and I want it to be pow, 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 everywhere, pow, It just got to be popping. You knew that, you're going to come. And then the weak brother comes in, and then the weak brother is like, oh, boy, she sure look good. See, I'm talking real, right? Okay. But again, she's not looking for him. But she knows she's looking for somebody, just not him, because he doesn't fit the criteria. And again, I'm just saying, sometimes we got to be careful too, because we're hoping that that brother can stay in his place and not lust after you. And a lot of times you're presenting yourself in a manner to make him lust. And this is why the Bible lets us know that we have to dress with modesty. We have to carry ourselves with modesty, because you don't know everyone's tolerance. This other man may say, like, I am so committed to my wife, it doesn't matter what you wear, it may not bother me. But the other brother may not. And he may just be still trying to keep his impulses in check. And now you're presenting yourself in such a way that now he is now becoming a nuisance. And now he may be so attracted to what he sees that before you know it, sooner or later, you're trying to get some brother to talk to this brother because this brother is... Hey, man. Y'all are the one who asked for this lesson now. I was comfortable. Go ahead, sis. He's bringing you the mic. He's bringing you the mic. Y'all all right? Okay. Just making sure.
Is this on?
It's on.
I'm gonna get a little transparent, so don't be giving me no side eye.
Okay.
I know when I was younger, I struggled with fornication. I did. I thank God for deliverance, but I did. Sometimes we struggle with things. Sometimes I've never really heard that taught here a lot about generational curses. I don't know. Some people may say it's not true. Some people may say it is true. But I do believe that there are things that can happen in our lineage that can be passed on. Not trying to blame anyone for it, but when it's a thing that happens. It happened in this generation. It happened in that generation. But yet and still, I'm just saying it was brought up to me about the generational curses. Still, it was something that I had been taught not to do, but it was still something that I did struggle with for a long time. And I do thank God for deliverance. Not too long ago, and I'm not going to call any names. I can't do that. But not too long ago, I think right around the holidays, I started receiving some text messages. And they was kind of little heated text messages, and I'm going to be honest. I haven't been indulging in anything like that. And I thank God, and I don't want to say they were nice, but they can take you there. And so, I'm going to be honest, my natural flesh liked it. Because it's been a while for Sister Hill. So I got another text message. I saw you on Facebook and your lips look like they need to be kissed. Oh, Lord. My locks just went all up in the air.
Oh, no. She.
Because, when you're trying to do right, for the Lord, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes you think, this ain't going to happen for me no more. But I want to live right. I want to do what's right. And I ain't going to lie, I played around with them text messages for about 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I did. Jesus.
Yeah.
And so I played around with them text messages, y'all. And when I say played around with them, I thought about them. I thought about the person and just all that. But I tell you what, I did pray and I asked God to help me. And the next morning when I got up, it was like no was just all in my face. No. You will not compromise. You will not go back to where you came from. Mm-hmm. You will not lay down all that you're trying to do for Christ, what you've been taught for a minute of pleasure that could open up a can of worms to God knows what. Mm-hmm. Because in your mind, your flesh is telling you, oh, ain't nobody gonna know. Mm-hmm. Oh, girl, you know it's been a long time. You know, and I just thank God for His Word. I thank God for deliverance. I thought about calling a few people, but sometimes you don't know how people are going to react to stuff, you know. But at the same time, sometimes I feel like at the place I am now, I have to be careful, very careful. I'm still dealing with loss. I'm still dealing with learning how to be by myself. Sometimes I don't like it, you know, but I've got to do what's right.
Yeah.
But I thank God that I did do what's right.
Yeah.
But I'm just being honest to say, you know, my flesh was excited there for a few minutes.
Yeah.
And I thank God that I was able to control it, because that's what we have to do with what has been put in us naturally. We have to learn how to control it. You know, but as we see in the world, you know, people have just run amok when it comes to sex and everything. It don't even mean to them no more what it's supposed to mean.
Right.
But I was just wanting to share that, because that it just caught me by surprise.
Wow.
And I feel like it was a test, because I know this is something I used to struggle with.
Right.
Before hey,
I mean,
you know, curiosity killed the cat. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
But I just thank God for growth in Him. I thank God for me honoring Him first in my life, because that's how I used to be before. I wouldn't put God in it. It was about me.
Right.
And every time I'd fall into a hole. But I thank Him for keeping me. And I'm just going to talk about me.
Right.
For keeping me. But I just wanted to share that. I never thought I'd have been sharing that in here. But I'm just glad I was strong enough and growth in God not to follow my flesh, because that flesh is a booger.
Yeah. Yeah, I really gotta follow that one up. Brother Milton over there. So here, you could clean your lens so you could see properly the next time. Here you go, here you go. Make sure you can see the right person next time. Yeah. Brother Milton had his. Yeah. Yeah.
Brother Morris, this is one saying, one verse that can help you when you're going through stuff like that. It's like it says, "There hath no temptation taking you but such as are common to man, but God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above all that you are able, but with all the temptation also make a new way to escape, that you may be able to bear it."
Here is the thing. So, and I like that you went to Timothy to let us know that. But here is the thing. No temptation might have overtaken you that God cannot deliver you from. The problem is many of us are not looking for the exit for God to deliver us. And so because we're not looking for the exit, we end up burning in the passions, the lust. We end up burning with all of that. And then we think like the only thing that we can actually do is just give in. But here's the thing. The devil always looks for the most vulnerable among us. Right? Always look for the most vulnerable among us. And, I mean, you see that even in the animal kingdom. Oh, yeah. Those predators, they watch the herd. They watch the group of animals passing. And they look for that one. Only that one that has some kind of he has a limp. Everybody else is walking, but he is walking with a limp. So if they all start running, he ain't going to run faster than we could catch him. And you will see them chasing the whole pack, and you understand which one is it that they're going after. But they know. They will stop. The lions, they will stop and allow everybody else to pass. Keep on passing. We're not eating you today. We might catch you later up there, but keep on passing. We already got the one in sight that we want. And sometimes that's how it is. The devil is actually trying to tell you, you go ahead. You good today. Sister Pittman, you good today. I'm coming to you next week, but today you good. I'm going after Brother Thompson today. And that's how the devil is. And we got to be smart. Like Jesus said, I send you out into the world. You got to be wise as serpents, and you got to be harmless as doves. You got to understand what's going on. You talk about generational curses, and it was something that I was actually going to talk about, but not necessarily generational curses. What I was actually going to do is talk about with the sexual perversion in our society. the sexual perversions we got going on in our society. You know, y'all can stop me and tell me if I'm wrong. There was a time ago when you heard the term grandma, grandpa, right? You were really looking and thinking of somebody in their late 50s, early 60s. Am I right? You were thinking that this person was already accomplished in life, and now they're up here and their kids have waited. They're grown now to have kids now. So grandma is somebody above 50. Oh, yeah. But now, grandma 35. Huh? Now you tell me something. And what it is, again, is because there has been a break in the teaching cycle. That cycle where we're supposed to be teaching, nobody wants to be student. And nobody wants the responsibility of teaching. Because now the ones who should be student looks at you and tell you, you can't tell me how to live my life. It's my life. And I'm going to live it how I want to. And then the ones who are responsible for teaching said, well, you know, you don't want to learn. Who don't hear will feel. So now there is a break. There is a break. No teaching and no learning. And I'm not the one who said it. God said it. My people are destroyed because of a lack of knowledge. So if knowledge is not being passed on, if you're not willing to learn what chastity is, because when you hear the older people sit down and talk to you, I remember when I was a young boy and I used to sit there and listen to my grandmother to them talk them stories. And boy, they used to laugh, but I used to be like, they used to all laugh, the older men, stuff like that. They were all friends. They weren't being fresh with anybody, but they would talk about the days of courting. Anybody court any day? No. The only court we know about is the courthouse. But there was a time when they courted each other. That girl was never going to leave the watchful eye of her father or her mother. You want to talk to her, you better come to the house. And don't think that you're going to go into the bedroom by yourself. And don't think that you're going to be left alone in the living room by yourself either. Somebody's always going to be there. They need to know your people. They need to know your intentions. They need to know all of that. Sometimes some people today, they're dating, their parents don't even know who they're dating. They only just know that this is the baby daddy. What? If I knew this was the person you were dating, you would have never dated him in the first place. But that's why we did it outside, because it's my life. I'm going to live my life. I don't want nobody telling me what to do except when the babies come. And then you realize how hard life is. But now you see, if you are not really living in the guidelines, if you're not living in those limits that God says, well, these are the limits of my commandment. You know, you got to walk within the limits of my commandment. If you walk in my commandment, you can't go wrong. But when you're out there walking after the flesh, there's all kind of stuff that can go wrong. You will live, and sometimes you'll regret those things. Yeah. I know, again, because of sexual perversion, there are so many people who end up with like sexually transmitted diseases. Do you think it's only the person who contracts the disease suffers? No, because there are some of those diseases that the mothers will end up passing on to the children, and the children can even become blind, passing through the birth canal when they come in contact with those very, look, I don't want to get into all the medical stuff. But because of the danger associated with this, God is trying to tell us way ahead of time, don't do it, don't do it. But, you know, we don't want to listen. We don't want to listen. Anybody else? Thank you so much for that stirring, that stirring, you know, stuff right there. Yeah,
you know, Brother Morris, the immorality has gotten so bad that I guess this male thing, female thing, and you hear them saying now, well, I was born wrong. I wasn't supposed to be a man. I was supposed to be a woman, or vice versa. And then you see it in the relationships where we talk about this generation gap. where society has begun to accept it.
Mm-hmm.
And, even when we read about it in Scripture, when we look back to Old Testament time, that when the men were forcing themselves on men,
Mm-hmm.
that they didn't claim to be that way. They were doing something that was against the law. They were doing something that was totally immoral. But now they say, hey, it's okay.
We studied this before. So go back to Romans chapter 1. Go back to Romans chapter 1. And I think it's like about verse 26 to, I think it starts at about verse 26. Go back to Romans chapter 1. And you see it there where Paul is actually talking about.
For God gave this.
What does it say? Romans.
God gave 1 and 26.
Go back up one verse. 25. Another verse. Another verse. I think it may be 24 they started. Okay. God abandoned them. Why abandoned them to do what? To do shameful things that their hearts what? So again, look at it now. Because if we read too fast, we overlook it. This is not saying that God made anybody anyway. It says that it was their own desires. It's their own desires. And so because it's their desire, and God says, well, you know what? I made man and gave man the power to decide. I gave him the power of choice. So what will be the choice? And man says, I'm going to choose what my heart desire. And my heart desire to leave the natural order. You made man for woman, woman for man. That's the natural order. So my desire is to leave the natural order and go ahead and do this. Do you know that a gay man could still have kids with a woman? Because that's the natural order. He can't have kids with a man. A lesbian, she can have children if she lied with a man. She ain't gonna have children if she lied with another woman. See, because that's not the natural order. So there is the natural order. But again, you leave your desires, and you leave the natural order and say, I want to follow my own desire. And so God says, well, you're gonna get what you asked for. I told you what's right. You want to do what's wrong, so I'm gonna abandon you for that. You do it. And you say what? Since they thought it foolish to acknowledge God, he abandoned them to their foolish thinking and let them do things that should never be done. See that? He said that God delivered them over to reprobate minds, depraved minds, minds that will just sit down and think up what is the next big thing. And so now people have gone from woman to man, to man to man, to woman, to now women to beast or animals, and now women to other inanimate object and man to inanimate object. I hear people saying stuff like, I married a tree. What? I married a tree. Yeah, even that. I married myself. I can be married to anything now. Because again, you have a depraved mind that you have reduced the institution of marriage to try to fit your own anyway. Is everybody okay? Man, I know we've been going on. It's 8 o'clock. I know. Looks like we're going to be on Galatians 5 for a while, because so far we've only been trying to talk about the sexual sins, and we haven't even gotten into the religious sins yet. Oh, we haven't gotten into none of that. Huh? But I want to say thank each and every one of you for those suggestions and everything that you had given me. I'm going to actually also, some of them I noticed that some of the things you asked for are things that you may have